Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Strategy and Sovereignty, the place for mission led business owners scaling to seven figures and beyond, not just with their soul led mission, but with their energy first strategies and their absolutely savage sovereignty. I'm so excited today to have Chelsea on today. She is a healer, just like a beautiful, wonderful healer with such a huge heart and such a powerful energy about her. And the work that she does is deep and so meaningful and so potent. And so I'm going to hand it over to her so she can tell us a little bit more about how she came into this work and the culmination of all of the powers that she has.
Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, it's funny when I go to describe myself, even just now, it's like, okay, I could talk about this angle, that angle, the other angle, the healing aspect. We're so multidimensional, like all of us, that would be called to listen to your podcast, to follow your work as well as mine. So basically, in a nutshell, I'll just describe myself as an intuitive coach for leaders who are ready to pivot into their deeper mission, which often means that they're already in their own business because they know the 9 to 5 isn't really working. They know that they're meant to not fit in that mold, but they haven't really fully claimed or stepped into that mission, like from a soul purpose, right? They're like, that nudge is there. I'm to do something else. I'm not quite clear on what it is. So I basically use my psychic intuitive insights, energetic shifts, and aligned action steps as well to really get them that clarity to activate their gifts so they can step into their mission, because then it's easier, right? Like when you're living your soul purpose, your soul mission, it's like life is easier. It's more fun. It's like all the things that you came in with as a soul, it was for a reason, to make it feel fun, to make it feel uplifting. All of the experiences you had in your past, your current life, past experiences, and even into past lives as well. I do a lot of past life work. It's all for that reason, to give you this blueprint or this map of where you're actually going. So I love helping people in all of those different dimensionalities, working with the body as well to align them to their mission and that increased capacity also. And basically I got here the same as everyone else. Things weren't working in the other ways. I had intuitive insights, and I always knew that things weren't always what I was told. So, the standard of this is how you go about life, it just never worked for me. Every time I followed advice that was the standard advice, it got me into really sticky situations. So I finally said, okay, enough is enough. I'm going into what my own intuitive sense is telling me to do, my own guidance. And that really unlocked everything for me. So that is how I am here and what I'm doing today.
That's awesome. Yeah. So as you were talking about really grounding people into their soul mission and their own intuitive gifts along the way, what I felt I wanted to ask is if what what you're really finding is people who are coming to work with you, like you said, they have already probably left their 9 to 5 or at least scaled it way back, so it's like way part-time sort of thing. They've started their business already, but perhaps they've kind of come into this place where things have gotten mucky because they've focused so much on the doing as opposed to the being.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's more from the place of they know what they don't want. So it's a little bit of the avoidance, a little bit of that sort of fear driven motivation instead of inspiration, right? So
Mm,
instead of really leading with what they're called to do, and especially with the collective shifts we've had as well, it's really calling people to step up as leaders, as what they're meant to actually move into and the fullness of their gifts, and what they're meant to guide others in, how they're meant to serve, right? And when all of that aligns, then again, it just unlocks all these other things that you're looking for, that freedom feeling, the peace, the ease, the prosperity that you think is just, as long as I'm not doing 9 to 5, then it's all good. But really, it's so much more than that, right?
mhm,
So, yeah.
mhm. Yeah, it's not necessarily an if then. It's not necessarily like as long as I avoid X, then Y.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much more like, well, there's And I feel like what I hear you saying too is there's the power of the choice as well, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so we have found the power to choose to accept the fact that we are multidimensional and we don't fit in with the standard paradigm that has been laid out before us, right? And yet we maybe don't always know exactly how to choose what's better beyond just knowing that we've, had a mission placed on our heart and we feel called to make that our full-time business. And then it's kind of like, well, then what?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you would be stepping in more in that angle from what I know about you in that beautiful energetic strategy. What I do is really more working on that body, that personal self, that activating of that gifts and intuition, to then allow the expansion of those other things. So then business strategy can come in, and then the other energetic and beautiful shifts of, people like you and others that do that work too, can really start to uplift and move and create waves also, you know?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
when you talk about doing work more with like the body and the intuition, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I basically have like a three-step process. So whenever I'm with a client, I'm looking always off to the right side. It's because I see sort of a hologram of the system pop up. So I'm reading the information intuitively from that place. And so
Hmm.
it could be, there could be, that's where the action steps are. That could be visions that come to me. It could be words. It could be energetic shifts. So I use my hands a lot. I use my voice to command things off the system or shift things in the system. And I always say that it's always someone's choice whether to actually pull in those shifts, because I work on that hologram piece, but it's their choice ultimately to either accept that or not accept that. But essentially, I clear any of that old programming. So anything that their parents taught them or modeled to them about what would work and what would not work, that is not actually in alignment with their truth. Any past life memories stuff that gets stuck and keeps you, it's wild how much past life could be, occurring at the same time. It doesn't matter to me. It's a certain vibe I call past life. But it's these situations we get into where there's a lack of resolution and then the system is stuck in that place, right? So if we can close up the energy and do what I call a redo. So a lot of times we go in and I actually will energetically will shift, okay, what actually the outcome was, the timeline of that, so that there is a resolution. There's various ways that will show up for people. But then that energy is closed. So it's no longer keeping them stuck or in the system, preventing them from moving forward in a certain way. Then we actually align what I call the central line. So it's like this line I see like all the way up from source, all the way down the body. We align that with their actual physical and energetic body. So now they have the capacity to open up to more of their beautiful gifts, the overflow that's available, all the highest potentials that live in the quantum space that gets to come down into their system. And with that, we increase their worthiness and their ability to receive that by also activating their gifts and intuition to say, yes, I'm ready for that. I'm ready to step into that. And then there's the choice that they get to move forward with.
Wow. So okay, that's really super powerful. So is all of this happening in one session or is it happening like over a series of sessions? How does that normally look for you?
Yeah, so it sort of depends. So the people that work with me the most and get the most transformation currently is in a monthly container. I'll be launching my other 6-week container soon, but it's a similar vibe of, we have multiple sessions, so we can really go a lot deeper. For people who just want a kind of like, I don't want to say quick fix, but it's like that quick boost of transformation, I have a catalyst consult. So it's 45 minutes. And honestly, I've had so many people say that's a life-changing session, just that one session, because I can do all three of those things in that 45 minutes. It will just be more focused on like one area versus the entire, we're shifting all of that's associated with this deeper mission move, because a lot of times there's even relationship stuff that comes up in that, or um you know there's the financial money stuff, how you perceive money, how you your relationship with it, your health, how you have an experience with that. So nothing is in isolation, as you know. So all of these elements would need to be looked at some point or other for that really like deep clearing of there is absolutely nothing that is holding me back from really fully stepping into my mission and continuing to evolve in it. Because the fact of the matter is we're all leaders. We're always going to be at the head, of the pack. And that means we'll always be needing to shift or grow and evolve and recreate ourselves with even little minor pivots. But it makes it so much easier when you have that deeper core alignment of this is the root of my mission, right? Because everything else comes from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Everything starts with you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. When you kind of look around and you say, well, the only thing holding me back is me, right? Then I think that already starts to bring so much of like a self-given permission slip,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
For people to say like, oh, well, I've left the 9 to 5. Like I don't have a boss that's telling me it's okay or it's not okay. Like no one else is hovering over me. No one else is commanding me. No one else is in charge of me, right? So then you go, okay, well, then what do I want?
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and how am I going to move forward in a way that is in alignment with who I actually want to become, what I actually want to do, and what this mission is calling me to become and to do. And so I love that you keep kind of coming back to this idea that ultimately it is about the individual person and their choice. And of course, part of that choice is to recognize when something does feel like it's disjointed, or there's some kind of a recognition that there's an old belief system that's just looping around that is keeping them stuck in those patterns, like you had mentioned before.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of my clients will come to me with I always ask what their goals are. So it's like, something's not quite right. I want to move deeper into my mission. And then there's always a PS, I have like chronic neck pain, or PS, I have headaches all the time, or PS, there's something with the body. And that's a really big clue, because the body will hold that information, those messages of like, this is so dense. Can we please like work with this? So I was a naturopathic doctor for 10 years prior to shifting, my own trajectory. And so I do see a lot with the body as well, and how the body is holding those messages. And that's why we also work with boosting their own intuition, so they can start to tune in. And it's like, oh, when I feel this or when this comes up, it's actually an opportunity to, one, make me aware that there's energy there. And then two, now I know how to shift that out and move that out so I can clear it and, move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that is that right there. This, let us work with our intuition and the internal navigation system that is the feelings within our body,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's such a key piece that is missing from so many other um, paradigms, right? From so many other coaching paradigms, especially in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's mm, a real kind of like distorted idea that just because you have made your way into a leadership position, however formal or informal that might be, just because you have chosen to accept your calling and receive your mission and devote your work to that, does not necessarily mean that you have all of your ducks in a row. It does not
Yeah.
necessarily mean that you feel like you want to be like in the front all the time, right? Does not necessarily mean that you already have an intuition that reaches the 37th dimension or whatever, like I think there's this real distorted view of that. And so I love that you are really calling that out and
Yeah.
and not only but calling it out with love, calling it out
Yes.
with love and making it a point to say, hey, like, yeah, not everybody is actually as in tune with themselves as they could be,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's where you're seeing a gap and then having the opportunity to close that gap for your clients.
Yeah, and I do find too that it seems, from what I can tell, is that the psychic and intuitive insights I get of like what I see them doing in the future, or what action steps I see happening of that future vision, it can be like 2 years out. right? So there's a gap there too, where it's like, okay, this is where you're going. And in that, to line up with that, we need to increase that intuitive ability so that you're feeling like, okay, now you're guiding your own ship here. Because again, there's not an end point to this. So there's the main connection with your deeper mission and your purpose, but there's always going to be little mini pivots, always little new creations. Because if you're a leader, again, you're always going to be leading, you're always going to be in front. So that means you always go first, which means you always need to be shifting and evolving to be first, not because it's something that you have to pressure yourself to do. That's inherently what your energy wants to do, right? So it's just this, yeah, this beautiful new patterning and new process for how we actually lead and how we guide others in our deep soul led work.
Absolutely. So as you're working with clients and you're noticing, these their old patterns and their old loops, are there certain ones that you notice come up more frequently than others?
The main one when I start working with most clients is it's around speaking their truth and actually going against the grain of, again, it's sort of in the line of what they've been told or what society deems should be the way.
Oh.
That's where a lot of that past life stuff tends to come in. Like I'll see visions of like them being in like stocks, or, they're in a town square and people are like heckling them kind of thing. Like, so there's these
Mm.
either lived experiences or metaphorical interpretations, however that their body sees that, that are, again, that's held stuck energy. It's like memory that's like, oh, I don't want to do that because this happened the last time. So once we move and shift that and clear that to resolution, it's like, okay, now I feel more safe to fully express myself. Now I feel like I have a bit of space to actually breathe and see, okay, what's here. And then again, with that gift activation, your gifts that you come in with, a lot of them aren't aware, a lot of people aren't aware of them as actual gifts. Like it could be as simple as how you speak to people, or the gift that you have to see the beauty in something that someone else may not easily see it. But those are clues to your mission, and those need to be activated and seen and honored and accepted and actually boosted to be able to walk forward with actually sharing those. So that's a really big piece that I find comes up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when it comes to those specific um, powers, like you were just talking about, where people have these natural gifts, but they don't see them as natural gifts, are you finding in your work that is typically because they weren't received by others as a gift earlier on in that person's life or in their past life? Or is it more because, like, because I know I've had this problem, that it's because in a world where we can be so connected to literally millions of people all at the same time by watching the news and our social media and getting on YouTube and everything else, that sometimes it feels like, well, can't everybody do this? Doesn't everybody think that way? Right? And then you kind of feel like your gifts are whitewashed.
Yeah, so I see both. Lately I'm seeing more of the latter, where it's like this social media, the information overwhelm that clouds the vision to be like a distorted view. It's basically a distortion of your perception, right? So I actually have a clearing I'm coming out with today on that that I'll post, because I am seeing that especially more lately. But I find that the people I work with, it's more of then there's childhood experiences of being told like, oh, we don't use your voice in this way, or that's not for you to speak about, or whatever that is. So again, I always look for the energetic root, because the root is always energy, and then it just lays on more and more energy until it may be accumulating into the physical density. So that's why often I'll see it as, the past life or multidimensional experience first. And then you come in with that as kind of an open wound, so to speak, and then another childhood experience gets layered on top of that. So I unhook all of that right back to the root, wherever that is, whether it goes to beyond this current lifetime or not. But that's really, the main pattern that I see is it's just not seen as an actual gift for, the reason of the opposite programming was in place, or, so once we clear that, it's more easy to see it. But oftentimes that's where my psychic and intuitive insight comes in, because I can say clearly, like, this is showing, and inevitably it's like, oh, I've been told that, or oh, I felt that, before. But again, it's the acceptance of, okay, that is a special gift for me, and now I'm ready to receive that, connecting with, again, that central line, moving into the overflow of that acceptance of, yes, that's what I'm claiming, yes, that's what I'm here for, and yes, I'm ready to activate that more, and to live in this different process, this different way.
Yeah, okay, so I love that you specifically said, like, "Oh, yeah, I've always felt that, I've always felt that," because that right there is so indicative of, like, I knew I was born this way, right? Like, they have known something about themselves for their whole life, so maybe it's in those cases, it's less about being clouded by social media and other people, and it's more about, um, like you said, that they knew that they could see the world differently. They knew that they had some inherent, really special gifts. They knew from a very young age that they had something to say. They had a really wild imagination, that they are different. They operate differently,
Yeah.
right? And somewhere along the line, probably in their early childhood, like you said, it was told to them, hey, like we don't use our voice in this way, or not in this particular time or this particular space, or you don't speak unless you're spoken to, and you use your words like this, um and it goes so against the grain of
Yeah.
the way that the natural energy of us multidimensional people work.
Yeah.
And I think what I've noticed too for some of my clients, and I'm sure you do as well, that when this happens, it becomes this very rooted, like, good girl syndrome, or
Hmm.
good person, I guess, good girl, women or men, right? Like, it becomes like, oh, well, I have to be quiet, like, and I have to act this way, and I have to make myself small and put my voice in a box and
Yeah.
put my expression in a box, and right, and then it's like all of your multidimensionality has been shoved in a box where, it's only a matter of time before it comes absolutely bursting out of that
Yeah.
box.
Yeah. Which can often be those physical symptoms too, right? Because that level of suppression, it has to go somewhere. So that can be, moods, or, that's where that feeling of like, ugh, there's got to be something more, right? And I think it was about a year ago, just before I was really pivoting in this direction, because before that I was really focusing more on the body and physical health, as an intuitive approach to my previous naturopathic focus. And I was just, in one of those moments where it's like, okay, I need to know, like, what am I really here for? Because it's the same thing. Like, obviously, I've gone through the same process if I'm helping people with it. But it's like, okay, I know it's not that. I know I'm close, and I know there's still something more. And this quote came pouring out. I was free writing, and it literally was, "You were meant for more." And it just started getting this flood of images and information of, again, like, oh, okay. So all those experiences I had in my childhood of feeling like, okay, my opinion doesn't matter, and I had these really wild, intuitive experiences where, like, at one point I was helping this injured butterfly, and I, was moving it from one place to another, and I was just sitting there staring at it, and all of a sudden I was like zoomed into it and became like one with it. I had a oneness experience with it, and I felt the pulse of the earth, and all of these images of how that sort of that pain, could be connected to pain like across the world, and it was the same pain, and there was this whole interconnection. And I was just a kid, and I zoomed back out of that and was like, well, that was weird. But and then there was no context for that until this moment, pretty much, right? It's like all these experiences, and every one of my clients has had some experience where they're like, oh, I used to see something in my room, or I used to feel like vibes were off over here, but I was told, that's weird, or, it just wasn't developed in that way. And they're finally realizing, like, oh, again, this is blueprinted in your soul. These are the reasons, these are the experiences you've had in order to transmute and activate that for yourself and into that mission. And then that helps others too, right? Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's so, I think, what is so one of the things that is so beautiful and powerful about your work and also about like the elevation of the collective consciousness right now is that so many more people are becoming so much more willing to step forward and say, yes, I've always had this crazy psychic ability in this particular way. I've always felt these energies. I've always had these really psychic dreams. I've always been able to read people's energy, like whatever it is for them. There's so many more people that are coming forward and no longer accepting this idea or this paradigm that whatever their natural gifts are weird or
Hmm.
wrong.
Yeah.
Or, I know there's like I've certainly worked with several clients, you probably have too, where there's also this like religious stigma of like, oh, well, you're not from the biblical times. Like, why should you be a chosen one? Like, it's blasphemous for you to think that you have natural superpowers,
Hmm.
and these types of things. And I'm kind of like, actually, we're
Yeah.
like you said, though, we're all connected.
Hmm. Yeah.
Actually, we're all connected. That same stream of consciousness
Hmm.
that, connects two people who know that they're connected really connects all of us, right?
Hmm.
And so these superpowers that connect one person connect us all, that connect with the earth, that connect with creator everywhere, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's the beautiful thing about being made for this time, right? Like this is also why we came here on some soul level, at that soul decision level is, this is what we're here for, to awaken that more, to really activate that, because when we do that, then it lights others. And I always see this image of like one person lights and then all these other lights go off. And it's just this beautiful imagery of like, yeah, that's what we're here for. You don't even have to know who you're actually activating. It could be someone across the other side of the earth, and they're activated because you are activated too, because there's some resonance within them that is a resonance within you. And it goes so much more beyond what you even think of, that 9 to 5, or like this is my job or my work or career. There's this other beautiful, much bigger soul mission that comes just naturally as an effect of you stepping into what you feel you're meant for, right?
Mhm. Mhm. So as people are making this transition, do you also find one of the key challenges that they are working to overcome is in this financial area? This like, oh, well, I had this 9 to 5, I had this really steady income. Now I'm being called to move in this direction. I'm working on building it. I probably have some level of trust that it's all going to work out, right? Like I know I've been given this mission for a reason, so it has to work out somehow, some way. And yet I know for so many people, there's this block around finances equating to, worthiness and things of that nature. Is that work that you also encounter quite frequently?
Yeah. And like I said, most people that I work with, they've already opted out of the 9 to 5. So they're already, like you said, they have some trust of this will work out, or this is the direction I'm to go in. But things still aren't clicking because they haven't fully owned that deeper mission. And it's the same thing as claiming your gifts. It's the same thing, because if you're not claiming your gifts and you're not claiming, I'm here to serve in this way, it's not also going to activate that yes to, I'm ready to receive, right? Because receiving your gifts and receiving money, it's both energy, right? So that is definitely intricately linked. And again, I will go into programming around childhood experiences of money and scarcity and fear and control, as well as into past life. I get a lot of past life stuff that is the religious political crossover of like, you have to give so much or we're going to take, or all this weird energy and programming that can be cleared to help shift that as well. But a lot of it is really claiming that, again, saying yes, I'm willing to receive. And once that energy, those weird energy loops, distortions in the field are removed, then it's a lot easier to do that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so I feel like that's where some of that deeper identity work is coming in for you. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And again, it all, to me, it really all boils down to what you've been told you are is just this distortion filter. And then what you truly are, because you truly and naturally are a receiver or a manifester. And it's interesting too, because even the idea of receiving has been sort of distorted. So I was doing a group program on activating gifts, and this imagery came through about giving and receiving. And it's like in the old energy, we would give, and it's like this pushing energy, and then you'd receive, and it's like this pulling energy. But in the new frequency, it's like I naturally am, and I am in service, and then I naturally receive. And it was this beautiful infinity symbol, and it's like it just goes, and it's infinity, it's everlasting, it's easy, it's flow. And that's as simple, I'll say, as that shift is when you're in this new collective frequency of, okay, I step into this, I say yes, and it really, it can be easier. So that's the old programming of I have to give, and it has to be like, this, and then I have to pull back in this receiving, and then I can receive. And it's just this like struggle energy. It's this lateral motion instead of this beautiful flow. So yeah, there's, again, we're all in context of the collective evolution. So the new energy is now really working for us, which is also why we're having so many more people saying, okay, yes, I'm ready to now finally step out. I'm opting out of whatever is going on over here, and I'm ready to step into what is truly and divinely for me. And so I think that's beautiful, because we're all, again, activating each other to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I love that you called that out too, that this old paradigm of like, well, it's this pushing, right? It's this like, well, now I have to create this thing
Yeah.
because I've been
It's
called to this
pressure,
mission. So now I
force.
guess I
Yeah.
have to create this thing and then you have to receive it, right? And
Yeah.
then it's like, and people the people who are stepping into their mission and creating the thing, I think can very often take it very personally when they're like, "Here, let me give it to you," and then some people aren't ready to receive it, or they think
Hmm.
they're ready to receive it, but then don't take that healing or the new frequency that they're now carrying, and they don't know how to handle it with respect and honor and care moving forward. They weren't ready to nurture that new frequency, right? Like that's a whole other thing we could totally get into, but that's another story for another
Yeah.
time. But then also there's is definitely going along with that of this like, well, you know, I'm not ready to fully just be in receptivity for my gifts and the things that I'm offering, right? There's this weird distortion around money and like how much you are worth, how much
Hmm.
your gifts are worth, right? But then people would let themselves give until they're poor, so to speak, right? Or broke. And
Yeah.
then now I have to receive. Now I
Hmm.
have to like find a way to pull money out of the ethers and
Yeah.
bring it to me. Now I have to put pressure on you
Hmm.
to give back to me for what I've given you. Right. There's such
Hmm.
like as a few years ago when I had my business that was primarily as an energy healer, I saw that so much in the community where so many people were uh, not to sound mean, but like they were kind of giving of their gifts, not just too much, but almost in an irresponsible way, again, to like people who aren't ready to steward those gifts, right?
Hmm.
But then also not recognizing how powerful they were
Hmm.
and the fact that their gifts are actually worth charging for, charging what they are worth, right? And then having that having that lateral push pull like you're talking about as
Hmm.
opposed to this, like you said, it should be an infinity symbol or a circle or however you want to visualize that, but it should be this very easeful like I
Yeah.
give of to you and you give of to me, and it's a
Mhm.
very reciprocal, easeful um
Yeah. Once it's set up, there's
relationship.
nothing that's required, right? It's just flow.
Yeah.
But that's the difference between that push, and then I receive. There's always a fear, right? There's always like they're
Yes.
over giving because they fear, oh, it's not going to be valued as much, or so I have to overgive. Like
Yeah.
there's always some element of that fear, that scarcity. And again, that goes back into, okay, what kind of programmings have you had in childhood? What kind of past life information is still active that you're not really aware of, that's looping still in your field, that makes you feel this sort of obligation energy in a certain
Hmm.
direction. And, let's clear that out so you can actually see clearly without these distortions of what's actually, not true for you.
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
So as you're looking at people's hologram as you described it, which I love too, because I also kind of that's how I tell my husband and my clients that, like, I see it almost as if people are projecting onto, like, a projector screen,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what they're
yeah,
thinking and feeling and experiencing, and that's how I
yeah,
see it, but I
yeah,
love this idea of a hologram, like, it gives me reminiscent of, like, Star Wars
yeah.
holograms. But anyway, so when you're when you're working with people in their hologram version and you see all of the distortions, how does that look for you? Is it like there's some like weird colors going on? Is it like you can see that energy is coming and going in all kinds of directions as opposed to down that center line? Like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, it shows up fairly differently. So I see, I hear, I kind of command my body not to feel what other people feel. So I mostly see and hear. And then I have the impression of words as well. So I just follow my inner guidance. So when I go into a session, I'm like, okay, source, God, divine, lead me, because I have zero clue as to what is going to show. And so I approach every single session, whether I've been working with someone for a year, I have clients who work with me month after month for years, or a single session that I'll see someone once and they'll be on their way. Um, it's not me that's pulling this information out, or it's not my mind that's coming up with ideas. I'm literally pulling it from their own field, translating it. So sometimes with the body stuff, I'll see certain areas highlight, and I'll often see it kind of like x-ray vision of like, oh, the pancreas has this sort of crust on it, and what's that, and is there an emotion there, or certain bacteria actually have resonance with certain emotions, and then again that can go into past life or current life, past experiences, whatever set that up, and then I will energetically shift that out, or we'll do aligned action steps for that, whatever again comes through for them. But other times, yeah, it's more like words, like sort of like, this is what you do. So I'll write that down as their action steps. So it kind of shows up differently, but I do get a lot of imagery. And I'll see also where things are coming through their ancestral lineage or programming that's been imprinted. I do see a lot of like scenes play out. Like I'll see an experience and they'll say, okay, I'm seeing this. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, that happened, X number of years ago. I'm like, okay, good. All right, moving on. So we'll just clear that loop and yeah, see what's left after that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's really interesting because as a previously hey, you had mentioned that your career path was as a naturopathic doctor, so it's like you maintained this element of that practice almost into medical intuition.
Yeah, and I've always sort of asked, okay, is it medical intuition I'm to do? And I always got sort of pushed, like it's not quite that, but it is like one of
Hmm.
the skills that I use, is to see that in that way. Because again, the energy lands somewhere in the body. If it's active, it's somewhere either in the field, but most often it's actually associated with the body. So I see the
Hmm.
spleen as holding a lot of older information. So either past life or past experience of current lifetime information is held there. And so the gallbladder is where a lot of resentment is held. So really old, sticky situations that can clamp down into the gallbladder. So there's different organ energies, and different energies will associate with different organs. I've just recognized patterns over the years of seeing the same thing in, multiple clients. So I kind of know, when I see an area come up, it's likely that. But again, I always ask, okay, is it this, 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 this? So I'm just discerning with my own intuition, different questions to ask, and to sort of figure out what I'm seeing and what's coming through.
Mhm. That is
Mm-hmm.
so cool. That is so cool and so powerful, and I know very, very, very few people who have that gift, who, like, really can use their intuition just beyond the imagery or the words or the downloaded questions to ask and can really pinpoint specifically in the body where things are living and what exactly it looks like. So that is a really powerful, really cool gift. And so I'm curious too, as some of these land in the body, one of the very common paradigms is that like the left side of the body is the feminine side and the right side is the masculine side. So do you also notice that coming up in the work that you do?
Yeah, not in terms of sides, in terms of organs. But I will get that when I see things outside of the body and it's like more in the field, then that left side. Sometimes if it's like something with the ears and it's a left versus a right side, then that pattern will show more specifically. Like on the left side, it's usually where there's a restriction in their intuition and receiving. And on the right
Mm,
side, it's something that's spoken in. I will often see like a father figure or another male figure in their life that's spoken in something into the right side that has taught them something about, it's not safe to have structure in a certain way, or it won't be supported, or, different themes like that. So it can show up that way. But usually, yeah, the sense organs, the ears are most like that, or in the field. Otherwise, left and right side of the body internally, it's more about the organ patterns from what I see.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure. And then as you're talking about doing some of that like ancestral and past life work as well, is it that you're also hearing from their ancestors?
Um, Sometimes I will. I hear mostly from my guidance, so I have a consistent sort of presence that I work with. But sometimes I have. It's more visual in that case. Like I'll see someone show up, or I'll see a guide show up. And it could be like an elder, or it could be someone, an ancestor that has passed. Usually, I'm not picking up more on that mediumship type of thing. It's all only what's related to their, what they need as guidance from the spiritual perspective, or what experiences have happened that have created this distortion of programming that's not aligned with their actual truth. So
Mm, mhm. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So earlier you were, well, I guess kind of actually throughout this whole episode, we've talked about some of the really common themes that you see across people when it comes to, being able to really be more visible and vocal about their deeper truths and really more connected into the ownership of their gifts. And so for the people listening who really identify with that right now, are there any like really good words of wisdom or guidance that you would call for them to start taking, in addition to, of course, working with you?
the most immediate thing as you're talking is I hear the phrase "be your own truth." So what I'm kind of seeing is just to sit with what that means for you. Hold on. I get corrected if I go in the wrong direction. Be your own truth is the phrase. And so you're not going to sit with that. You're going to actually, it's like more making notes. So write on a piece of paper, be your own truth. And then write like what comes up. There, it looks like little kind of like a list, right? Like there's a sentence here, a sentence here, a sentence here. What comes up for you when you write be your own truth? What comes up? Just write a few things under there and really kind of feel into that. Is there something like it looks like it's highlighting one thing? So, one thing, if you can write be your own truth, write down what comes through, just 4 or 5 sentences, two, three, whatever comes out. Highlight one of those as the thing that you're going to focus on and really add a little more intention to. And then before you go to bed, you can actually then focus your intention on that specific action step or that specific theme, or whatever it is that you highlighted, and just ask for your own energy to be clean, clear, and connected to your own internal guidance, your own internal truth, and that any other steps be shown related to that.
I love that. So there's a real sense of, again, this choice, right? Like I'm choosing to clear my fields, my body, my mind of any of this external static and distortion that is coming from experiences and social media and things like that on the day to day. And then commanding your energy, commanding your frequency to be so committed and focused on what it is that you are here to be and to do.
Yeah, and here's the thing that I should make very clear is that we are, again, irregardless of our gifts, we are very powerful in what we choose and what we say. So we are actually allowed to clear and command our energy to whatever fits us. So in other words, if you have an interference energy or you have other energy that's not aligned with you, if you recognize it and then command that it no longer be related to your system, that it be pulled off of your system, that it be cleaned, cleared, and transmuted fully for a complete resolution, then that energy does have to like listen to you. So we have so much more power. And that's a lot of what I do with clients in activating their own intuition in their process is teaching them how to actually do that so effectively that when something comes in that's going to give a little bit of a wobble, they already are aware of it. They already know how to handle it. And they already know how to anchor more deeply into their mission. And often it's a sign that they're on the right path. And there's these, you know, this this energetic battle happening of like, okay, how are we going to get someone else off their path, and how is someone else going to evolve beyond that, and this beautiful balance that's happening. But it's not taught anywhere, right? That we can actually do that for ourselves. And again, that's just part of the whole bigger context of what we were told, how to act, what to click into. It is not meant for you, and there's a reason for that. And this is the thing.
Mhm. Yeah, and while you were saying that, I suddenly just had this moment of like, oh, a lot of what I think, um, a lot of what I think that many spiritual people, especially spiritual, like mission-led business owners, right? Like people who are your clients and mine, what they would call spiritual warfare perhaps is really just distraction.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing is I often will coach my clients on, okay, this thing happened. Okay, whatever, it's a thing. You move it off and you move on. Like what you focus on is what you're feeding, right? So if
Mhm.
anything that you see as, oh, this is taking me down, or going into a victim of, oh, economy is bad, or oh, this is bad, anything external to you, you're giving your power away. Literally, you're taking all of your power and throwing it out of your body and then expecting things to happen beautifully for you, and that's just not how it's going to work. So it's always about reclaiming your own power, saying, okay, I'm the one in control. I can now see where that came in. I know what it's from. I know the energy that it derived from. I know how to command that out, and I get back on my mission, back on my path even more than before.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I talk about with my clients here and there as well. And I like to use the phrase like you are the queen of your queendom, right? So every time something is out there distracting you, calling your energy away, you get up off of your throne to try to go deal with it, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to see when it is things that are happening in the economy, in politics across the world. It's so easy to be like, oh, yeah, these are all of these very external things that I actually have very little control over that keep getting me off of my throne and taking my power away. And it's a lot harder to see when those things are coming from inside of you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Yeah.
the primary work that you do when it comes to what are some of the stories that I keep looping around? What are some of these beliefs that have been repeating these patterns and feeling stagnant in my body, like those are also things that will get you up off of your throne and have you chasing something else
Yeah.
that you think is outside of yourself. You think the answer is out there somewhere.
Yeah.
um and it's such a powerful and wonderful thing to be able to come back and be like, no, actually it's right here. And so when I hate the word fix, but like when I fix what's happening right
Yeah.
here, right, then everything stays right here and that power is reclaimed, like you say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Beautiful, beautiful summary of that. Exactly. 100% agree.
So, so as you are working with your clients, and I love that kind of like journal prompt that you offered for people who are listening. That's so beautiful and so powerful. So when you're working with your clients, I imagine those types of journal prompts, reclamations, affirmations perhaps are things that you offer, because you have also come again from this naturopathic doctor path. Do you also include like nutritional things or movement type things as homework for your clients?
Yeah, and it kind of depends. So some my monthly clients, some sessions will be more body focused because as they are, shifting the energy out, then everything becomes lighter. They're a lighter frequency, but the physical is the most dense. It always will be. So then
Hmm.
sometimes we focus more on the body, like, okay, the body needs more help shifting out this older, denser energy. So it may be, okay, you need, this specific type of greens, this often or cooked in this specific way is sometimes how it comes out, or this supplement for X period of time. I also will use sometimes I have a little frequency device because a lot of also my previous life is working with little frequency devices. So there's a specific one that I use that sometimes I'll have my clients guided to do that if they have it or if it's aligned for them. Yeah, so it can come through various different ways. As I said, it's wherever they're at, and it's very specific to their system. So when I did that sort of tuning in of, who's listening, it's from the energy of, okay, I'm not specifically looking at their field. So that's sort of the collective energy that we pull from. But when I'm specifically looking at someone's field, it's their collective energy that I'm getting that information from. So, yeah, it's really, sometimes I'm surprised at how specific things are, like very specific candle colors lit and certain, like there, it could be anything. And that's why I say whenever I come into a session, doesn't matter if I've seen them 10 times prior or for 2 years prior. I literally don't know what's coming through and I don't know what the plan is. Spoiler alert, I don't have a plan each time. And I love what comes through because it's always so poignant, always so purposeful, always so, on brand for what they need, in that session. So yeah.
And I think that that also carries with it its own really potent power, because that to me is the frequency of the universe. It's the frequency of creator. Like it's so, like, how on brand is that for God, universe, whatever you want to call it, right? To be like, I'm not going to show you the whole staircase. I'm not going to show you the whole path. We're not going into this with a plan. Like, you show up to me today. Here's what I'm telling you to do today.
Yeah.
It's very like, that's so on brand for God, right? To be like, this is what you need
Yeah.
right now, this hour, this day. And, we'll unfold a little bit more tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And that's why a lot of my clients love that process because it's you get enough where you can see where you're going, but also it brings it back down to, okay, what's the thing at the present moment to focus on? What's the next aligned action step? What's the energy of that? And even sometimes, the beginning of the session, something will come up, and at the very end of the session, it's like, oh, and that relates also to the beginning, and so it's like a full circle moment. So it's just, yeah, I love the process of how it comes out. And I have I have really, I don't want to say worked hard, but I come in with a lot of neutrality. I literally am open to whatever is coming in. I do a clearing before sessions of, any filters I have, any perceptions I have. I need to set those aside. I'm fully open to whatever they need to hear, whatever is in their highest best. And that's what I strive to help my clients do as well, is the more honed in you get to what is for you, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. It doesn't matter what anybody told you was good, right? To do.
Hmm.
All that matters is
Yeah.
what it is for you. And that's it.
Hmm. Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's so important too, that I think, um, it's terms of the coaching healing industry in general, that a lot more mystics are getting better at, right? Is not just being like, "Oh, well, because this was my path, this is what I think, and so these are the beliefs that I'm trying to impart onto you," right? It's more like, "No, I'm the channel and I'm here for you and your highest good. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't," right? Like when you are deciding to answer your calling to go with your mission, to step up into serving more clients, it isn't about you. Like
Yep.
your mission is about you, but it's actually not about you at all.
Yeah.
Like it's really about the person that you're serving. And so coming in with that grounded neutrality, I'm just here to be the channel for you is such a key piece, such a key piece.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And that's, I think, part of, like you said, we're a lot more moving to a lot more people, especially leaders, are realizing, oh, I need to do it my way, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
recognizing that
Yeah.
even if someone has good intentions, it doesn't matter what that next person did. It's what's aligned for you.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, leaders of all kinds, right? Again, no matter where you are in the spectrum of how formal or informal your leadership might be, it
Yeah.
is about doing things your way that is going to elicit the best result for the person you're serving.
Yeah. And that I want to make a note here too. Even those who are, stay at home moms, motherhood, that's not my arena or sphere, but that there's also leadership there, right? So you say formal,
Absolutely.
informal. It's literally, it can be so many different things, but it means that you're the one stepping out. You're the one saying, okay, this is how we're going to move forward. And that others require that and need that from you and are waiting for you to step up into that.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would even argue um all people, all adults, right? Because going back to the
hmm
beginning of this conversation, your world and the way that you create it all comes back to you and your beliefs and the choices that you make and the actions that you take, right? So even just in your own sphere of your career path, your finances, your physical health, your spiritual, mental, energetic health, right? All of these things require you to step into your leadership in order to captain each of those ships.
Yeah. And as we talked about before, that's when that collective gets the boost. So someone else, even if you're not working client to client with them, your energy resonance shifts and they have something similar that will also speak through the quantum space of activation for them and clearing for them. And so yeah, it's beyond, traditional leadership roles, really. It's so much more deep than that.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're coming around to where it's been about an hour. It's been such a really cool, beautiful conversation. I'm so glad that you've been here to be able to take the time for it. Before we hit the record button today, you talked about how you are kind of starting to make a little bit of a shift in your offer suite, and I would love for you to have a moment to talk about some of the new offers coming up really soon.
Yeah, so I will be relaunching some things. As I said, there's the bigger pivot and then there's these little mini pivots. So I'm in a mini pivot moment with my offer structure. So really the best way to actually connect with me is to just DM me on Instagram at Aligned by Chelsea and say, I heard you chat on Lauren's podcast and I'm happy to tune in and see what offer would be the best fit for you or put you on the wait list for I have a mastermind that's coming up that will likely be in the new year. And I also have, a masterclass, a free masterclass that I will be doing as well soon. But I don't have the links and all the logistics stuff done for that. So if you just DM me and say, I heard you here, and whatever you're interested in, or as I said, I'm happy to tune in and see, if not me, with someone else, what is the best aligned action steps for you moving forward. I'm happy to do that.
That's wonderful. So the best way to connect with you right now is on Instagram. Do you also have a website they could go to, or we'll just keep it to Instagram?
Yeah, I do have my website alignedbychelsea.com as well. So the offers, yeah, they will be popping up there as well. I tend to kind of do a preview on Instagram of things first with all the launch discounts and all the goodies there. So either or, but yes, both places will have that information shortly.
Perfect. That sounds great. I will make sure that I include all of that information for all of you listening in the show notes to this episode. Chelsea, before we go, are there any other words of wisdom you'd like to impart upon our listeners?
Yeah. So I just tuning in. It's like I was just trying to discern the wording there, but it's like take life by the horns, and I see this like this this expressive energy, and really again like along the lines of what we talked about, that choosing energy, that empowering energy. Like really own it, really take charge. Like you're the one that's actually leading, you're steering. So even if, it's like the image of a bull, but even if you're on it, you can steer that energy in that direction. You are the one that's guiding that force, that creative force that you're working with through you and within you. And it's time. Now is the time.
Now is absolutely the time. If you've been feeling the call, it's the time.
Yep.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today, Chelsea. We really appreciate your presence and your wisdom and everything that you had to share with us today.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I really appreciate it. It's fun.
Yeah, thank you. We will see you soon.
All right.